Get ready to vibe to success with the Tyson's Vibe podcast.
Larissa, welcome to the show. How's it going today?
Hi, Tyson. It's going okay. It's going well. How are you?
I am good. As I told you in pre-production, I've been all over the place. This week has been extremely busy for me. Taking on Instacart as an income, and I can't just tell you how many times people drive me crazy through that app. The rules are you order a set of groceries and you have X amount of time to make replacements or changes. It's not until you're finished and you're about to go to the checkout line, and then people want to add things on, which causes confusion with the app, and I'm just like all over the place and screaming in my head. I want to scream at the customer, but then I'll get a low rating. So that's
Right.
where I am. That's where I am in life right now. But I'm fine though. Thank you for joining the show. Where are you talking from today?
I'm talking from Windsor, Connecticut.
Windsor. Okay. I enjoyed my Connecticut visit over the summer back in July. Visited Miss Rosa's. I was a vendor for Miss Rosa's business symposium. I met you there. I met a lot of great people. Fun time. Very encouraged by our future, by our high schools. There were two high school people there. There was one high school guy with a shoe business, and then it was a young lady part. She was selling cakes with like her mom or sister or somebody.
Yeah.
Very encouraged that young people have taken on the entrepreneur spirit, which is good.
Yeah, that was beautiful indeed. And to know the ages of these children, that was very inspiring just to watch them and do their thing in that space. So, yeah, that
Mm.
was very powerful.
I also enjoyed the hotels in Windsor. I think it was I forgot what it was. It was the two hotels in Windsor that are literally the same hotel, but they're on opposite sides of the road. You know what I'm talking? It's not Holiday Inn. It's
Is it the Courtyard Marriott?
yes.
Mm,
Um, Without giving away any like, not trying to put one in a bad light, but one is significantly better than the other. I will say that there's a baby one, and then there's a one with like the taller like elevators, the shinier floors and
yeah,
whatnot, the better food, but
that the Courtyard Marriott, and I can't remember the name of the other one, but yep, one I think is it's built that way because one is for families that can stay there for extended periods, and
Mhm.
the other is just a regular hotel. So yeah.
I enjoyed my stay there. Thank you to Ms. Rosa once again. Thank you to
Mhm.
everyone who joined the symposium that Thursday evening. I forgot which the date of it, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Um, okay, so I don't have an icebreaker. I want us to get right into it. I've been trying to get you on the show for months now, but schedules, of course, you've been really busy. You've been
Mhm.
speaking the powerful word. I've been watching you, been inspired by you. Um, my audience wants to know, what is Journey to Free? What is this community that you built?
Okay. Journey to Free is an organization that initially started as a blog that I was just overwhelmed at one point in time and just decided that I wanted to share my story because I was just sick and tired of dealing with all the secrecy and everything that came with that. And in an attempt to just release and to get my story out there, believe it or not, I made a very bold move and I decided to start sharing my story publicly through this blog. Now, the weirdest thing happened is that the blog then morphed into this sort of a movement, which then took on the form of an organization. And what Journey to Free is an organization that helps survivors of sexual trauma to reassign the shame and speak about their stories. And we do several things with that. One of our babies and one of the things that's closest and nearest and dearest to my heart is a retreat that we host annually in my home country of Jamaica for young girls that have been sexually assaulted. Their ages 10 through 16, and we go home every year, a team and I and my team in Jamaica, and we put on this extended retreat and help these children start their healing journey. So the long and short of it is Journey to Free is just a space created, an organization created to help victims of sexual violence to start their healing journey. And that we wear many hats over here. It's support groups, it's everything that goes along with that. But as I said, our baby is the retreat.
Now, when you typed and wrote that first blog post, was that did you have that planned out, or was that more intuition telling you what to write?
No, that I never had that planned out. That was almost, it's safe to say it was almost a dare, right? Because what happened was I found out that my abuser had continued this thing that he was doing for how many years. Um, I thought it had stopped with me and my family. However, I found out after several years that he never stopped, and he had also done the same thing to a couple cousins of mine. And that's with that information, I started spiraling into deep depression, not knowing what to do with it because I was blaming myself for everything that had happened. And so one of my brothers said to me, "Why don't you talk about your story through a blog?" Because I write and he knows that I write and I loved writing. So it was almost a dare. And my very first blog post, I laid everything out. I put it all out there, and that was how it started. And when I did that, as scary as that was, I literally felt like there was a load lifted from my shoulders, the burden of just, I'm finally putting it out there. And I really did not care what anyone thought about it. But I knew I had to start telling my story.
The weight you felt lift off your shoulders when that first blog post was published, and then you had so many supporters, some you knew and some you didn't know, haven't even seen or spoken to yet. That speaks volumes on the societies we have created in this world today, primarily in the Americas. And then everything you've experienced, I don't want to delve deep into it because it's really traumatic. Was it in the islands of Jamaica?
It's fine. And I don't have a problem talking about details at all about my story, but my story is simply this: I'm a third generation child rape survivor. And what that means is people always question, wait, third generation, what does that mean? And it simply means that my grandmother, my mother, and myself were all raped, and everything that goes with that, by the same man, right? So my grandmother married him, brought him home, and my mom, years before I was born, of course, had the same experience. Well, he raped my mother from she was 6 until she was 16. And years later, as a little girl at the age of 5, he set his gaze on me. And so the molestation first began for me when I was 5 years old. But then, because I wasn't living with them at the time, my parents had migrated and I ended up at my grandmother's house. So for me, the violation started actually, the rape started at age 11 until I was 16. And yes, all of this happened in Jamaica.
I can't believe he was still allowed around after you've told an adult that what you experienced and then what your mom experienced. I can't believe that he still was let around and still able to like breathe comfortably and be at home at like I don't um
Well,
yeah.
to tell you about the truth about that is he was able to do that because we never spoke about it. See, yes, I did tell my mom at age 5. And because of all of the fear and everything that my mom had attached to that at that time, she basically told me that I needed to keep it a secret. And being 5 years old, I never understood that. I just knew that at 5, I'm listening to my mom. And she explained to me why I needed to keep it a secret to protect her mother and herself and everyone. And so at 5, I kept the secret. And so at that moment, what ended up happening is my learning to keep secrets because I'm asked to keep this secret, and also to lie about things. So when he actually started raping me at age 11, I never spoke about it. I only spoke about it again when I caught him with my 3-year-old sister at the time. So, and still nothing came out of it because we were told again to keep the secret. So fast forward how many years later, 30 plus years later, when again I found out that he never stopped, that was when it really pushed me. I garnered the courage at that point to start sharing my story, because then I realized, okay, he needed to be stopped and no one else was going to do it. So I had to do it.
I would only imagine that put a strain on you and your mother's relationship. That in itself, because someone who gave you life, and for the own person who gave you life didn't who just told you straight out, like, I believe you, but you just need to be quiet about it. I hate that. I hate that so much, especially when you tell a black person that you need to shut up and be quiet about the trauma that you've been through, the injustice that you've been through, the rape and incest that you've been through. You just need to shut up about it. Like, I hate that so much. It makes me want to, like, honestly, without being violent, it makes me want to punch somebody in the face, whether it be, family member or not, because you're not about to tame me. I told you what I've been through, and you're telling me to be quiet about it. Like, what kind of
Unfortunately, Tyson, that is the reality for so many victims. Got boys, girls, right across the board. People don't know what to do with that. In the case of my mother, because, and this is not at all making excuses for my mom, but over the years, learning her story, realizing where she was on her journey and how scarred she was by it all, I learned to somehow accept and realize what was going on with her. But as I said before, it is the story of so many others. Because of the shame that's associated with all of this, no one wants to take that on. And again, no one came to her aid. As I mentioned, she was 6 when all of this started. She never received any kind of healing, no support, nothing. Because this was his thing, that he would use threats to keep us quiet. So the fear was embedded in us from such young ages. So even as an adult, my mom was still scared. And yes, it made our relationship very difficult, because I didn't learn until I started speaking 30 something years later that that was my mom's story. I didn't know that. She never told me. So that speaks to the level of, fear that she was living, and the secrecy she felt as well. So yeah, she never said. But yes, it made it really hard. But thank God we were able to journey through that, speak about it and forgive each other. And we're both on our journey.
you do know that, when you as you soon as you were writing a blog post and going on speaking engagements, you do know that your ancestors were working with you through you, right? Because I'm pretty sure they have stories as well of them being raped and, molested and whatnot, but they weren't able to tell their stories at all. So I wholeheartedly believe that your ancestors, spirit guides, people are with you, on this journey as you educate and empower and, heal all the young women out there who are going through this right now and who don't have a platform.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that at the time. I didn't believe that because it felt like a journey I was on by myself with not very much support. Because, as you can imagine, being labeled the black sheep, and I'm putting the family business out there, and I'm bringing shame and disgrace on the family. My family split. I did not have that support. So at the time, no, I wasn't thinking about the ancestors. I wasn't thinking. I was in God's face a lot, because it was difficult. It was extremely difficult. But now, after I started sharing and I started getting the reception from people, that in of itself was overwhelming, because there were so many people, men included, coming up to me and saying, "Oh my gosh, you're so brave to be speaking about this. This happened to me too." And that in of itself took me back, because when you're going through stuff like this, you honestly think that your story is unique. It's only you, right? And so you're carrying that weight and believing, woe is me, everything is wrong with me. And that's the outlook. That's the lens in which you're looking through, until you start sharing your story and you realize, in talking about this, people are getting empowered and garnering the courage to share their story as well. Go, oh my gosh, I thought this was just my story, but now I know better. I know better. So that's where we are.
Is there a part of Jamaica culture that promotes that for young men, older men to get, wild and loose with their hands and without any sort of consequence?
So, first, let me say this. This is not, as we all know, this is not just happening in Jamaica. This is
Yeah.
unfortunately happening all over the world in every culture you can think of.
Mhm.
However, unfortunately, on my beautiful island of Jamaica, uh, I want to say there is a rape culture that is running rampant in that island. And that's again, it's happening at this alarming rate because there's so many people that they're afraid to tell their story, or they're supportive because some of them don't see anything wrong with it, right? And so you have, and I keep making reference to boys and girls because both sexes are being sexually assaulted at an alarming rate. And unfortunately, we know the story of, we often hear people say, hurt people, and abusers go on to abuse. That is the case for some, but unfortunately, that is not the case for many, right? As we know, and I think a lot of people know at this point, people rape, and I say people because women are rapists too, right? And they do that because it's a power trip. Whatever the situation is as to why they do what they do, it's a power trip. And in and culture like Jamaica, the island of Jamaica, unfortunately, again, the topic is so taboo. And people, for many reasons, one, they may be scared to speak out because
Yeah.
the experience I had, they don't want to go through that. They're afraid, and especially who they're going to be talking about. Uh, some people end up losing their life for stuff like that. So the culture itself, there's this this saying in Jamaica that why is it that that just slipped me? There's this actual saying, and I know the American version of it, but pretty much what it sums up to be is that you don't speak about anything just to save your life, right? You
Right.
don't see anything, you don't talk about it, and that unfortunately so many people have adapted that belief, and they just don't talk. And if we don't speak about it, that is what happens. It empowers the pedophiles to keep doing what they do.
Yeah, and we don't want that ever. Thank God for the movements that we have today, the Me Too movement, um, just different movements across the world. We have to start holding these people accountable. And there's still a culture today that still a segment of guys today that wants to sexually abuse women without any consequence or anyone speaking about it. That's what irritates me the most. And I kind of have an idea of who the type of guys are. I'm not gonna get into that though, but guys, yeah, guys brag about sex and whatnot all day, but it's always something extra. Like I have an inkling of who's really like who I should stay away from as a person. I have an inkling like all the time, but
Well,
yeah, it sucks you have to go
unfortunately,
through that.
I
Mhm.
think this is coming down and not trying to section out any, particular group or whatever the case is. But unfortunately, this happens because in a lot of our society, there is not much value placed on women, and we know this is coming down from patriarchy and all of these things that's been happening over the years. And so the mentality has not shifted at the capacity that we wish it would shift. So you do have a lot of men, unfortunately, that still believes that that is what a woman's worth is. This is what we're here for, right? I saw that in my own family growing up a lot, where the belief was women were just supposed to be barefoot and pregnant and in the kitchen, and that is what or what was
Yeah,
assigned. It's just we're sex objects. And that is pushed, that narrative is pushed, not again, not just in Jamaica, but in many cultures. So this is why, and again, because the value is not there, it continues to happen. And because us, the victims of this, oftentimes don't speak up about it. So it continues.
before we get into the manifestation segment, I want to ask: do you have a issue with? Excuse me. Do you have an issue with black male abusers relying on the fact of racism for their abuse? they say systematically speaking, everyone wants to harm the black man. So like how like what are we supposed to do with ourselves? We have to commit crime. We have to do this, that, and the third. Do you have an issue when black male abusers fall on that excuse?
When black male abusers, I'm not sure I understand exactly.
Like there's black male abusers who are known abusers and pedophiles and rapists. Some of those guys will fall and say that racism caused them to commit those type of crimes. Do you have an issue with that?
I do have an issue with that because I think it's BS. I think it's BS. Racism does not cause you to do anything. Nothing causes you. I do understand some of them do have unhealed traumas that they're fighting or whatever the case is. And that is one of the reasons why I contest that statement all the time that people use. Uh, People that have been raped go on to rape. No, I was raped for many years. My mom was raped. We've never even had the thought or the inkling to do that. So that to me, and I know other people will probably challenge what I say, but that's BS because at the end of the day, an outside force cannot force you to do anything. That's all of that is coming from within. So whether it's a power trip, you're getting off on the fact that you may have some unhealed issues and that is how it's manifesting. That's how it's coming up. But you still, no, to answer the question, just no, because I could go on and on about that part of it. And no, that's not my belief.
Okay. Segue.
Are you ready? Let's manifest.
Okay. Manifestation segment is what we want to speak into the air. We want to be intentional with what we want in our lives. We want to be positive. We want the spirit guides and God behind us. I want you to manifest anything or everything, or just manifest anything that you want to see happen in your life right now.
Well, let me say this. I'm a very strong believer in God, right? No pun to anybody or whatever the case is. And while I do believe in manifestation, putting things out there, I also do strongly believe in while you're manifesting, you have to do your work, right? So things don't just come out of thin air. You have to put the work in to get to the place in which you want to go. So my desire for myself and what I would manifest and put out there is to get to a place where people's opinions of my speaking up and telling my story and helping others don't bother me at all, right? I still have a tendency sometime to pull away or to shy away from certain things. That's one of the things I'm putting out there. The feeling of being safe, I still struggle with that, and so that's one of the things I want to manifest. That there will become a point in my life where I just feel safe and I know exactly what that feels like, and I no longer struggle with that, right? And another thing is just complete self acceptance and love, not just for myself, but for all the many survivors out there, that we will all get to a place where, again, we can reassign the shame and speak and release all of that and walk in our power again and reclaim our dignity and know that wholeheartedly, not just say it, but believe it wholeheartedly that whatever was done to us was done to us. It's not our fault and we're not alone and we can stand in that power.
There you go. There you go. That's powerful right there. That in itself is powerful. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
So part two, I want to transition into the healing part of yourself. Um, Me personally, healing to me is very uncomfortable because you have to sit with yourself and your thoughts and those memories, and you're not allowed to. If you distract yourself by looking at your phone or just moving around, like you really are doing yourself a disservice.
Mhm.
What has your healing journey been like?
Oh my gosh, that part. So my healing journey have been hills and valleys and highs and lows and triggers and pulling out the tools, and it's up, it's down, but again, it's a journey, isn't it? To your point, Is it easy? No.
No.
Unfortunately, yes, you have to sit with yourself and face the ugly truth of everything about you. And a lot, I understand why people shy away from that. But for me, I couldn't do it anymore. I was just so tired of feeling like the scum of the earth. I was tired of feeling as if I didn't matter and no one cared. And like I didn't want to be here anymore. In fact, I attempted to take my life 3 times and failed and felt horrible at that because I felt like I couldn't even do that right. Right. So it got to the place where one day I just got and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't continue to live like this and talk about distractions, one of the many things that we do when we're on our journey, because we don't want to deal with the ugly truth. We don't want to sit in that uncomfortable space. We distract ourselves in so many different ways with being overly busy, constantly running, doing all of that, people pleasing, anything it is, scrolling on social media, whatever it means we have to do to get to that place of not having to sit with ourselves. We tend to do that. But unfortunately, there is no other way to go about healing than sitting with yourself, becoming very clear on what the issues are that you're facing, accepting the truth, acknowledging everything that has gone wrong. It doesn't matter how difficult that is. And no one can help you with that. Unfortunately, you have to do it. But that is the place that we have to get to where we know this is going to be a journey. Hence the reason Journey to Free, hence the name rather, Journey to Free. We have to sit with that and face the uncomfortable truth about ourselves and be willing to understand that in on the other side of this, is happy. On the other side of this is self-acceptance. On the other side of this is my feeling worthy, and not just feeling, knowing that I'm worthy. So it's worth the work. But I do get it too that a lot of people don't want to do it because it's hard. No judgment here. I've been on my journey for quite some time, and every now and again, you get. I thought I had dealt with that already, and I've gone past the stage. But no, it's a journey. It's a journey. But the beauty of it is that while you're journeying, now you're picking up some tools, some resources, some methods, all of this that on those days that you're triggered or you have a flashback, you have a memory, whatever the case is, now you have tools to move yourself forward, right? You don't have to stay in that space for much longer than you have to, right? Yes, you give
Right.
yourself time to cry, to
Mhm.
feel, to sit with the emotions and probably journal about it, whatever the case is. But opposed to staying there for months and years, it probably takes a few weeks or a few days or, whatever, and you're back on track.
Some of us have a lifetime of healing to do. That's one thing because me being into spirituality and astrology, some of us have to spend a lifetime and heal and learn those lessons. Because some of ours missions and purpose on earth is to share people what we've been through
Yeah.
and to guide you, like as you're doing right now in Journey to Free. You talked about when you wrote that first blog post, you were just surprised at the number of women who just supported you. You felt that energetic, that hug from
Yes.
the people you haven't spoken to ever or people you don't know. Like a lot of people have stories to tell, but they just don't have a platform or outlet to speak it. And I think, our throat chakra at times when we go through what we go through, our throat chakra is blocked. It's one of the 7 chakras that we have.
Mhm.
It's blocked and we're not able to express ourselves clearly and articulate of what we've been through. Like it's kind of like going to a festival, going to a rock festival or metallic festival and screaming, but everybody else is screaming, so no one can really hear your scream.
Right.
So
Right.
it's kind of just like a never-ending battle. And then as it pertains to healing, healing is a never-ending story because healing occurs, like healing will tell you when it's coming, or healing will just like hit you in the face. You don't say, "Okay, I'm ready for healing."
Right.
When
Right.
healing will come when they want to come or when it wants to come, and it will leave when it wants to leave. You could be at your family member's graduation, you could
Mhm.
be at church, and then all these thoughts are just like popping back up in your head. I'm like, oh my gosh, do we
Mhm.
have to do this right now? Now I can't enjoy the present moment.
Right, right.
So yeah,
And this
yeah,
I agree with you on healing. And again, it's a journey because I watch and I listen to so many other people in the space that talks about, I am healed and I'm over certain things, and to each their own. But for me personally, I think especially trauma survivors, right, that have had several different types of traumas, it takes years, if ever, for them to get to the place, or if they ever get to the place, I don't, to say that I am healed, right? As we hear time and time again, healing is not linear. It looks different for you, it looks different for me, but it is a journey. It's a constant. You're having to show up every day, setting your mindset, telling yourself that, hey, I don't know what's going to happen today, but whatever is going to happen, I have this, I got this, right? And you can again either affirm yourself or choose whatever tools you're going to use to get yourself back on track. But it's not something that you go into saying that I'm giving myself 6 months and then I'll be healed. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't
yeah.
work like that. It's a constant journey of choices and decisions that you have to make every single day.
What can we do as a society to stop the toxic behavior of men who rape
Ooh.
and incest, and then some women as well?
Speak about it and take action.
How can we take action?
Take action. Okay, so when I say to speak about it, I believe wholeheartedly that one of the reasons why this is still so prevalent, there's so many of us that are not talking about what has happened to us for a myriad of reasons, right? And again, no judgment there. But in order for people to fully understand the depths of how people's lives are altered and how the entire trajectory of whether it's a child or a preteen or an adult, after you have experienced it, it literally eats away at a part of your soul until people really start to understand that, and not just glaze it over or push it under a rug as if it's okay and it's normal, until we start having these conversations and talking about how extremely difficult and life lasting the traumas are. No one will really understand, right? And the actions that can be taken, one, we have to honestly get intentional about doing our own healing work, right? Whatever that looks like, whether it's therapy, whatever route you're going to take. And we also have to support victims. We have to believe victims and stop blaming, re-victimizing victims when they start sharing their stories. There is so many things that we can do, but to top all of that, speak out and bring these people to justice. When we start sharing our stories and start holding them accountable for the things that they are doing, you will
Yeah,
see a shift. That is why it continues because, as you mentioned earlier in the podcast, it's happening and a lot of people are not doing anything about it. And so it continues to happen. When they start being held accountable and they're really realizing that they are serious, what's the word I'm trying to use here? Consequences to their actions,
right.
it will shift.
I will say
Yes.
that, yeah. I would say some cultures don't believe in consequences at all. They wait until that person is like 80 or 90 years old. You know, they don't have that much longer to live. Then they want to start piling on of all the evil things that they've done. And that right there irks me. The
Mm,
lack of consequences in some cultures right there. Then you have troll culture where people say, well, where's the proof? Why are you mentioning this 35 years later and not when it happened? They tried it with Brett Kavanaugh and the lady who said that she was raped by him. They were at some sort of like high school party. Regardless of what, because there's no statute of limitations on rape, regardless of when it happened, she has a right to have a voice heard. But people just troll culture people are saying, why are you saying this now when he's about to be conducted into the Supreme Court? Like, how about people say when they're ready to say it? Because again, it's a traumatic experience,
Man,
and everyone should be ready. And everyone's healing looks different. Everyone's healing timeline looks different. So
right.
why is there always a timeline of when people have to talk about what they experience?
Because a lot of people are comfortable. They're comfortable in their discomfort, right? The
Yeah,
truth of the matter is they don't want to talk about it because some of them, even though that was not their experience, it's a very uncomfortable topic,
yeah.
right? And it's one of the reasons why I pushed so much to even start writing my children's book to help people to have this conversation and to get comfortable with having these conversation in hopes of preventing and bringing awareness. But the truth of the matter is, at the core of it, a lot of people don't want to talk about it because of the uncomfortable nature of it. And I too experienced that, where after 30 plus years, when I decided to press charges against him, because thank goodness in the island of Jamaica, there's no statute of limitation there. And so after 30 years, when I decided, okay, enough was enough, I was able to go back and press charges. But I experienced that where everyone, from some of the police officers that were on my case, like, why did it take you so long to talk? Why are you doing this? Da, 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 da.
Small minded, narrow minded. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was never a fact that you had people saying, oh my gosh, she really is just now garnering the courage to do this. Because Tyson, make no mistake about it, it's not easy to stand up and to say, I was raped by my supposed grandfather for years on years and years, and what people attach with that and the stigma that is assigned to that. It's not easy, because then on the flip side to you having the courage to do that, now you have several people judging you because that, oh, you're damaged goods, you were right, da, da, da. It shows up with you're trying to date, with just having relationships with people, and it's just like, oh, that's the girl that was raped by your grand, things, comments like that, that is really insensitive. But you also have to understand it goes with everything. So you just have to be in that headspace and that mindset that as much as you get support, which for me, majority of the support I got was from complete strangers, believe it or not. But also, you also get the backlash, and you have to be okay with that as well.
Yeah, and I would assume it was the grown men who were just trying to like shame you, and that's the easy way to gain clout nowadays. It's to discredit
You,
survivor.
you would be
Yeah,
surprised. Majority of what I received, unfortunately, were from women.
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 Like they were like, girl, be quiet. Like, what are you talking about? That type of thing.
Men, why are you talking about this? Why are you bringing shame and disgrace on your family? It happened so long ago. I've had women, even in my family, say things to me like I must have liked it why I didn't speak up, and things of that. Majority of the negative backlash that I got, believe it or not, it was from
Hmm.
women. I had more support from men. Yes, you had your older perverted bastards that kept saying, oh, I could do that again. Things like that. So,
Yeah.
just the level of insensitivity that is attached. But
Hmm.
no, it was women that I had the most challenge dealing with.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you had to go. Well, first, I'm sorry you had to experience the rape and the incest early on in your life, but I'm also sorry that you had to deal with that backlash from other women, because they were trying to stifle your voice and tell you to be quiet and just stop bringing attention to yourself. Yeah, yeah. That's a shame.
It
You
is.
mentioned before we leave today, you mentioned a children's book. Can you tell us where we can find that book at?
Oh, that children's book, and actually it's behind me. I don't know if you can see it. So
Is it My Body, the
my
blue and the orange one? Yeah.
My Body Belongs to Me. And I also have a book that I co-wrote with my 10-year-old son at the time. That's called Children Have Rights Too. And both of these books, as I mentioned before, it's just helping parents and guardians and educators to have the conversation in an age appropriate way to help children to understand that they have rights, and to encourage them to speak up. Where you can find the book currently it's on my website. I have a publishing website called journeytofreepublishing.com. Can be found there. My books are on Amazon. However, Amazon deleted my account with them back
Why?
in May. I am
Hmm.
still flabbergasted by that. They have not given me any real reason as to why, and they still have not reinstated my account. But they're still selling my books. So please, if anyone is going to purchase them, go to my website, journeytofreepublishing.com, because Amazon is selling my books and keeping my money. So
Yeah, I will bring that to HR. Amazon, we seen in earlier last year, Amazon will promote certain defamatory, language and books against certain religions and whatnot. But I would, yeah, bring that to HR. Yeah.
there you go. I know, but it is what it is. And I've been fighting with them. We'll see if that gets resolved. I don't know. But
Good, good. Larissa, thank you so much for joining the show today. Very powerful episode. I'm glad you were able to share your story again. I'm glad, you're able to speak it with confidence. Nothing held back. We believe you at the Tyson's Vibe podcast. We stand behind you.
thank you.
I want to know, are you doing any like West Coast speaking engagements?
At the moment, I don't have anything planned, but I'm open to it. If
You
I,
would get some attendees out here in Seattle.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have to look into that because I'm really, and that's one of the things that I do. Not only I do speaking engagements, but I also do workshops with children, right? Empowerment workshops, and again, pushing them to stand up and to harness their power rather, and
Mhm.
to let them know that they have rights. So yeah, we do that, and I'm open
Good.
to it.
You'll get some serious engagement out here in Seattle. Here we're more a progressive city. We champion many causes, but women's empowerment and Me Too, those are some of our biggest causes out here.
Oh, wow.
We need more voices amplified. So I think you would do great out here. You'll probably have a speaking engagement, probably at the collective somewhere. That's where a lot of events are held. There's many open spaces for you to have a speaking engagement, but Seattle should be it could be, if I were you, on your checklist of cities to visit. And then come out here and just enjoy the
I
restaurant,
definitely
go to
can.
the
Thank
Pikes
you so much.
Marketplace. Yeah, like it's a lot to do in Seattle, like especially as a tourist,
I've
it's a
never
lot to
been
do.
there. So yeah, awesome. I'll definitely look into that.
Where can we follow you on social media?
So on Facebook, I'm Rizzy Rhone. That's Rizzy Rhone. I think I am Rizzy Rhone on Instagram as well. But my page for Journey to Free is Journey to Free 1. I also have a YouTube channel that's Journey to Free. And there I was chronicling my journey for a few years, and also have a show called Mask. Yeah, and it's Journey number 2 free, because people will often mistake it with TL, but no, Journey number 2 free. And yeah, I can be found on all the platforms at this point.
Good, good, good. Well, audience members, you heard that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining today. Is there anything else you would like to add before we take off?
The only thing I would like to add is to survivors that's out there. I pray that you all garner the courage to start sharing your story. You don't have to do it in this way, in this manner of sharing your story publicly, but find somebody to talk to, and please know that you are not alone. You don't have to do this alone. There's millions of us out here, unfortunately, with this story. So please don't suffer in silence. Find someone that you're comfortable with to share your story and start your healing journey. It's worth it. That's it.
Yes, it is, and it feels uncomfortable. I may add, but we're built for it. God doesn't give us anything that we're not prepared for. So we're
Whew.
built for it.
Yeah.
Much success.
Thank
Well,
so
thank you so much for joining the show today. God bless. Have an amazing week. Okay,
Thank you. Same to you, Tyson.
bye.
Bye. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.